It is 2 a.m. I am sleep deprived. In our bedroom, our two young kids are sleeping, one a toddler and one a little baby. I am exhausted. My brain has gone into a trance-like, dreamlike state. And I am looking at my husband, who is having a monotonous monologue. He has been having this monologue for a long time, and I've lost track of how long. He keeps insisting that I look at him while he speaks. This monologue is the ending of a period that has been a high conflict period in our relationship, and it has also involved some physical episodes. He hasn't spoken to me in a few days, being very angry and aggressive, and then finally we sit down to resolve the matter, and it ends with this long monologue. In hindsight, I feel that this was part of a process that is very similar to the brainwashing process that I have read about for example, the Chinese using in the Korean prisoners of war. And this was a process that actually changed the way I thought about things. It went on for years, and part of the process was this brainwashing monologue. And that is the topic for today's episode. My name is Emma. I'm a medical doctor, and I am a survivor of domestic violence and narcissistic abuse. I am very interested actually to hear about what you think about today's topic. So if you have had a similar experience, please take a second and make a comment below. After the Korean War, there were episodes that caught the public's attention. Some of the American soldiers had changed sides and were now pledging their allegiance to communism. And 21 of the American soldiers actually refused to come back to the US after regaining their freedom. What had happened? Psychologist Robert Jay Lifton studied this. He came up with a system of brainwashing techniques that were used. And the aim of these techniques is to break down the sense of self and replace the target's attitude, beliefs with those of the oppressor. It is to gain obedience and to get the target to cooperate. It has also been recognized that sects use similar tactics. It is especially effective if the target is at the same time sleep deprived, exhausted, getting less food than they need, if the target is isolated from outside influences. Acts of cooperation is rewarded. Acts of independence is punished. The target is kept exhausted, worked to the bones, and busy all the time so that there is no time to think independently. The first step in the brainwashing process is the breakdown of the identity. The person is attacked, criticized for everything they do, and is made to feel ashamed. You're eating so slowly. How could you even think that? What were you doing? The target is being attacked on all levels and constantly berated. The brainwashing is also more effective if there is acts of aggression or physical violence involved. The next step of the process is to get you to agree with the oppressor. So you are hammered with all the things that you do wrong, and eventually, when you are tired, sleep deprived, you begin to lose your sense of self, and you begin to lose the solidity of your beliefs. Perhaps the person who is causing you this pain is right. You slowly start to question yourself and to agree with the oppressor. The next stage is the breaking down, the nervous breakdown. Even battle-trained soldiers will at this point begin to sob uncontrollably. They have lost their sense of self. They feel that they have betrayed themselves. They don't no longer know who they are. After that, the target has been softened up. This is when the abuser offers them a small kindness, offers to get them a meal to eat, sit down and talk to them. This is when the good cop comes. After all this negativity, then in relation to that, and this small gesture feels like an enormous thing. And this also creates hope, and it creates dependency on the abuser. This is part of creating the trauma bond that is spoken about in the abusive relationships. After the abuser now switches to being a little kinder, then it's time for you to agree that you were wrong. So he's offering you to agree with his version of things, and by doing so, you are saved. So he's offering you a way out from your guilt and your shame and your wrongness. So you don't have to be like this. You can follow his lead, and then you will be redeemed and rebuilt. And now enters a more harmonious part of the relationship, where once again there is no negativity and no arguing, and things are harmonious, but they are at the same time destructive. And in an abusive relationship, after a while, the process will start again. The criticism will start again, and another part of your identity will be broken down and stolen by the abuser. It gives the target a false sense of being in control of the situation. They are able to get out of the conflict-ridden and the negative episodes. By agreeing and conforming, then they are able to get to a better place, and it gives them a false sense of control. It gives them a false sense also of being partly responsible for getting themselves into the horrible oppressive situation. That is not true. You are a target of an abuser who is actually using brainwashing techniques to break you down. Looking back during the years of my life when I endured this process, there was a fight between the part of me that was questioning actions that my partner took and felt violated and betrayed, and a part of me that said, "Remember that he loves you. Remember that he wants what's best for you. Remember the last time when you started to become suspicious and angry, and when you caused an argument. Don't do that again. Just keep the peace." And then the part of me who would see him once again keeping his cell phone hidden, seeing messages from other women on his phone. The part of me that wondered what he was doing when he went on vacation by himself. And the part of me that wanted to believe him. The part of me that loved him and remembered the good times. And the part of me that knew what would happen if I once again started a conflict. The part of me that felt vulnerable and ashamed and didn't know where to turn. Now, I really love to read. You see, this is just one of my bookshelves. And there is actually a book that I feel is kind of relevant to this situation. And I can recommend it. It is called Blind to Betrayal. And you see the author's name is Jennifer Freyd and Pamela Birrell. And it talks about the fact that in abusive relationship, when one of the partners is betraying the other, often it is through cheating and extramarital affairs, then the partner will see evidence of this, but then forget it. This happened to me. So when I noticed evidence of him cheating, it would be just a second when I had a very painful realization, but then my mind would sort of push it aside. And I couldn't keep it in my conscious mind anymore. And the authors of this book describes this very interestingly, and they call it the swoosh, where the brain just protects you from knowledge that would really hurt you. And it is very interesting how the brain works. And in the brainwashing process, the abuser is actually using this fantastic brain against you, coupling being obedient and not questioning, and agreeing and obeying with pleasure, and coupling questioning, thinking for yourself, not obeying, and breaking his rules with pain. Your brain wants to protect you from that pain and hence conform to what he wants you to do. My brain became very foggy. I was so tired, exhausted. My days were spent doing all the chores and eventually also working. So every second of the day was busy. I had no time to sit down and think. This is also a very common part of the brainwashing that is used in sects. The target is constantly busy. There is no time to think. Eventually, I was able to start to fight this process, and I did it without him knowing it. Now, I will tell you about the process I used to start to break free from this mental prison. I would not tell him that I had begun to doubt what he was saying. I would show him that I agreed. I would nod and say, I hear you, or yeah, I will try that, and really give the impression that I agreed and listened to what he was saying. But at the same time, I started to mentally note what he was saying and how it was different from the way he was acting. I would listen to him telling me how I should behave, and then I would observe him and see what he was doing himself, how he was being dishonest, how he got himself into conflicts, how he was sleeping in until 10 p.m. or later. I would accept a list of chores that he left for me, but then I wouldn't do them, and I would sit down and do something completely different. So in a way I was putting on a mask, but it was a mask to protect myself while I was building myself up. I noticed how he was treating me, and I compared it with how others were treating me at work and how they were behaving towards each other. I looked at the dynamics that we had in our relationship, and I compared it to the dynamics of other relationships and people that I saw. It became increasingly clear that I was being taken advantage of. Eventually, I found the anger within myself that helped me break free. Anger was something that I had pushed down since I was a little girl. It was a feeling that I thought I couldn't access. But I could access it, and it kept building up. For everything I noticed that was unfair, for everything I noticed that was hurting me, for everything I noticed where he was trying to break my confidence down, criticize me for things that he couldn't do himself. The anger kept building up, and eventually it just popped, and I was able to break free. Now, it wasn't an easy process. It was actually a very dangerous process, because even if I was outwardly agreeing, I think that he sensed in a way that I was becoming more independent. I also refused to get involved in the arguments. I refused to listen to any more of these brainwashing monologues. And when he tried to pull that trick on me, I would tell him, "Hey, I need to wake up in the morning and I'm going to bed now." So he did sense that I was shifting things, even though it was not in a confrontative manner, and that made him increase the physical aspects of his abuse. So when he was not able to emotionally abuse me and keep me in check, the physical violence appeared again. It eventually became very dangerous, and I am glad that I made it out. It is important to know that an escalation of violence could be an indicator that you are in danger. Some abusers will take any measures to keep the control over you, even if it means to eliminate you. They don't have any empathy for you. Remember, you are not the love of their life. You are their target. If you think you are in immediate danger, please call the police. You have a right to be safe. You have a right to not be oppressed. You have a right to have your own thoughts and your own mind without someone trying to poke around in it and trying to erase any traces of you thinking independently for yourself. If you like this video, please press the like button. It helps to spread the awareness and the knowledge. You're welcome to subscribe to my channel. I will continue to talk about abuse, surviving abuse, and how to break free from the mental prison. This is Emma holding up a light over the bridge. Remember, there is always a way out. Please be safe, take care, and have a great day.